All right, guys, I got a 2025 CFMoto U10 crew cab here today. I'm gonna show you how to remove the back window on this. So on this machine, you're gonna use an Allen socket. I'm gonna use a 3/8 impact. I've removed a couple of the bolts. There's 8 bolts that hold this window in. We are gonna show you how to remove this, whether you're cleaning the window, adding an accessory, doing something like that. We are actually going to tint the windows on this machine. So I'm going to show you guys how to remove this and how to properly take apart the back window so you can do a window tint job. So I got my impact here with my Allen socket. I'm just going to remove this bolt. So the bolts all come out. They have washers on them with rubber grommets. On the inside of the cab, on the inside of the glass, they actually have aluminum spacers. So you want to make sure that you keep the glass freshly tight against the machine, so that way those aluminum spacers don't fall out. So I'm going to hold this. This is my last bolt. I'm going to remove this. And then I'm going to tilt the inside of this glass forward. And these aluminum spacers sometimes fall. So you want to make sure that you're grabbing those. So now that this glass is out, I can show you the aluminum spacers. So on this, you have a larger aluminum spacer here and on the other side. And they just press into the rubber grommet and they look like this. So you want to make sure that those stay put. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take this apart so we can tint the window. Obviously we can't tint the slider pieces while they're in here. We could tint these extended cab pieces, but we can't tint the slider pieces. So we're going to show you how to take apart the slider and how to tint it. So with that being said, this is the slider, the lock and unlock mechanism. You'll just need a number 2 Phillips. You're going to remove the 4 Phillips that hold this on here, set them off to the side, and then once this is removed, we'll flip the glass over, and we just have to do a little bit of disassembly on the exterior of it. They actually do come apart pretty easily. Once you get the hang of it, it's not too bad. So we're going to flip this glass over, and we're going to be mindful of the aluminum spacers. So now that the glass is flipped over, there's these pieces right here. These pieces will just actually slide off. You just gotta, they're a little bit of a pain at first, but they'll just slide out towards the edge. You kind of want to pay attention to the orientation of it. They look like they'll fit one way backwards, but they won't fit that way, and you'll struggle with it. But they do just pull off. Once you got them off, the closed end, this part goes towards the center of the glass. If you take this open part, it won't fit on here and you'll struggle to get it on. So just be mindful of that. Once you have that part out, there is a stopper in here, so the glass can only go so far. That stopper, I found that I just take my number 2 Phillips and just pry it out like that. And it comes right out. It's just wedged on the glass. So that comes right out. Set that off to the side. We'll do the same here. There's a little bit of opening where you can stick your number 2 Phillips in and just pry outwards. Boom. Now there's a felt seal on the glass here. So this is going to push a little bit hard past that, but then the window will slide out. So you want to be mindful of the CFMoto logo. You want that to be down. And when you tint your glass, you want your screw holes to be facing towards you. So you're going to be installing your film on this side with the raised lettering on the glass and the Phillips screws. So we'll take apart the other side, but that's how you remove the slide glass. All right, so we got the back window set up on this stand. What we want to do is I got this piece here, the liner side's towards me. It's going to be actually for this window. I want to razor blade anywhere the film's going to sit. It's nice because there's a big black border around this, so there's a lot of room for air. You do want to scrape this border out just a little bit. Then you're going to want to take your squeegee and squeegee off your glass. I left my squeegee in the machine. So you'll just need this pink squeegee. We're just going to squeegee all of this down. We want this to be at kind of an angle. We don't want it to be laid flat on a table because the dust out of the air has a tendency to settle on it. You want to be quick. So I've squeegeed that. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to do that as a dry install on that side. I'm going to peel off my liner. I'm going to wet my film, and I'm simply just going to pinch right here on the film, and I'm going to carry it on the backhand of my hand right here, just kind of balancing it, and I just want to set it about where it needs to go. Now at this point, I just want to make sure I shift it so it is completely covering the window. And I'm gonna use my thumb here and I'm gonna anchor that, and I'm just gonna kind of squeegee this out. And then I'm gonna extract all the water. So that window is legitimately that easy. I find when I do a dry install, I get less dirt. It seems like when I rinse, it rinses dirt. So there could be potential dirt sitting up here and it rinses into your film area. So now I'm gonna come over to this window. I'm gonna do the same thing. So my piece is right here. Again, I want the liner side towards me, which is the clear part. I'm just gonna mist this onto the glass, and I'm gonna anchor my liner side towards me like this. And I got my razor blade. I'm gonna wet this half. I'm gonna do the same thing. Then after we're done with this, we're going to move on to the slider pieces, which are just as easy. So the whole install of this machine probably took me about 2 hours. I would say your biggest struggle is gonna be those quarter windows. So we're gonna wet this, squeegee it off. I'm working above the border just a little bit, just in case the film touches there. You will want this to sit for a couple hours after you do your window tint before you install your slider windows. I do actually have this backwards, so I don't even listen to my own rules. Liner side towards you. And then peel away the liner, toss it on the ground, wet the whole film. You're gonna simply pinch right here. Just use your fingertip to lift it up. You're gonna pinch and carry on your backhand and set it on the glass. Just like so. Flop that back on. Now you have the ability to shift it around. Make sure you don't have any light gaps. A little light gap right there. And you're gonna take your pink squeegee, anchor it with your thumb, and squeegee out your water. So at this point, we can set up to do our slider centerpiece windows. This turned out extremely clean. I'm very happy with how this turned out. All right, let's move on to our slider windows.
All right, I'm gonna set the back glass piece with the screws facing towards me. We want to tint on that side of the glass. So I'm gonna grab my piece of film and I'm going to be sticking it on the opposite side of this rear window. This works really good to hold your glass and your film. So we're just going to anchor it down right there. I'm using the soapy water mix. I'm just going to tack it down to the glass so when I peel the liner off, it doesn't lift. So at this point, I want to razor blade down my glass, getting every square inch of the glass to make sure it's clean. So once we're done fully razor blading that, we're going to take our squeegee and our soapy water solution, and we're going to squeegee that all off. That's just going to ensure no dirt's trapped on there. Again, you're going to want your shop fans and other items that can blow dirt into the film area off at this point. So we're going to lift the liner, peel it away. We're going to wet the film completely, and we're going to carry it. So we don't want the adhesive to touch anything else but the glass that's going on. I flop that on there nicely. So the trick is on this side with the screw holes, you want that to be tight. There is going to be a sliver gap on the other side, but you won't see it because it's going to be behind the back window area. So you just want to squeegee out the water here, extracting every little bit of water. At this point, I'm just going to pick it up and extract it out up in the air. And then you'll want this to dry completely before you put the back window together. Give it about a minimum, probably 4 hours, and then you could slide your back window glass back into the frame and put all your rubber bump stops and trim pieces back on.